Welcome in to another edition of The Meltdown. Today on the show, Godzilla x Kong was an absolute beast at the box office this weekend as we will break down the numbers. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes just dropped a fiery new IMAX exclusive trailer. The new Wolfman movie's been delayed, which has left me howling. And Lunce's List profiles 5 memorable cinematic fight scenes that have stood the test of time. It's all happening right here on The Meltdown, presented by MyBookie, broadcasting live from the Culver studio.
Two big balls in a tiny studio, teaching you and me about everything they know to make sound. A meltdown, it's the meltdown, time for the meltdown, coming for the meltdown, let's start the show.
Thank you to all of our wonderful Meltdonians who make the magic happen here every single day. We appreciate you watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and X. Thank you for making us a part of your daily routine. We are now officially on the road to 2,000 subscribers. We would really like your support. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you hit that button with the bell being activated as well. We'd appreciate a thumbs up to this video if you're here with us. The other half of the Meltdown, that is John Lunsford. John, did you watch anything notable this weekend? Like, I don't know, a basketball game that you may have had some interest in?
Yeah, watched a little Elite Eight action on Saturday. Roll Tide, Alabama, moving on. Roll Tide, everything Roll Tide. Yeah, they're going to get destroyed. And I mean, absolutely manhandled by UConn, but you know what? At least Alabama's made it this far.
Is this you doing your normal thing where you hedge?
Hey, look, I loved Alabama playing Clemson instead of Arizona in the Elite Eight because what did I do? I went to our friends at MyBookie.ag and put an absolute ton of money on Clemson money line because they're the underdog. It was like plus 135. So I either was going to get – because the first time Clemson and Alabama played in the championship, I'd gone to Vegas and I'd bought a ticket for Clemson to win the national championship. When it ended up being to Clemson, Alabama, I'm either rich or the team I love and graduated from and all wins the championship. Same holds true here. Alabama won, worth the loss that I took on MyBookie.
So you're not hedging this time?
No. Alabama will be the underdog, so I'd have to bet to make good money because Clemson's a gigantic favorite. Okay. UConn is a gigantic favorite, but it's such an inflated line because of how big they've won every game. I don't want to play them either, so I really don't know what to do. Probably be an over, though. Play Alabama the over because they put points up.
I feel like you're emotionally hedging, though, because what you're doing is you're going and you're telling the entire world, UConn, there's no chance they lose this game. So that way.
Now, to be fair, I'm the only person in our office who picked Alabama over North Carolina, so I thought that could happen. I thought they'd play Arizona, and I think they would have lost to Arizona. No. Got the lucky win over Clemson. Now I do for the first time this tournament, firmly believe they're going to lose.
You have an update on the next round bracket challenge, how that's going?
Yeah, Jim Dunaway has officially lost, so he'll have to go shoot three-pointers in 5 different arenas around wherever he can get to, Division I. Brown is in first place, but if UConn wins over Alabama, Lance will finish first place. Literally comes down to that game. There is a second-place punishment that's not quite as bad. He got to deliver a few orders for us. However, overall staff, of course, Rockstar is currently winning that. Rockstar dominates this thing. And, yeah, Rockstar dominates this thing every year. However, if UConn wins if UConn wins, then Reed's going to beat you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I mean,
but really nobody can pass you in second, so he's still top 2 regardless.
Am I in absolute last place? Because all I did was hit random.
You're only not in last place.
Well, Kelsey's in last place.
Kelsey didn't fill out half of her bracket, so
it happens.
You, Kelsey.
Now she wrote out her bracket, hand wrote it, and gave it to me and said, "Here, count this." I can't put that on the actual website, but I bet if I were to go through and count it, she's ahead of you. Therefore, you're probably actually last.
Not last place. Great. Well, I appreciate that update. When it comes to the round ball, producer Tyler is here. You have sort of a love-hate relationship, I feel like, with the AMC Screen Unseen program. You're still getting over the trauma of the last time you signed up for it. But I hear you mapping out your future AMC visits, and Scream Unseen and Screen Unseen. Both of these things are things that are on your radar. But do you feel a little worried going into these programs? Because let's be honest, it hasn't been the cream of the crop that's been displayed in these settings for just $5.
100%. I'm afraid to go to the next one because I think it's just going to be a movie that if it were to release under its original title, that it would just be empty theaters. I doubt Sting will have a packed house or even nearly as much of a crowd for the Scream Unseen event I attended. So I think they're just going to try and get those $5 tickets on movies that won't sell tickets.
From what I've heard, you are the very first letterboxed review of Sting.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
I do.
Like,
no one
this
else
pretty bad.
has even rated this movie. So I gave it its first rating of 0.5 star.
Oh my god!
You didn't say this stings, like kind of stinks. This stings.
No, I mean stings could work too because that means that you're hurt in some capacity. So maybe just stick with that.
Only thing that got stung was my wallet. Am I right?
Rockstar,
Hashtag John Stamos.
it's going to get stronger through the day for both of us. I can feel it.
We can only go up.
We always start off the week slow with our humor, and then we work our way up for sure. But, John, let's be honest here. Scream Unseen and Screen Unseen, these are only programs that are going to work with AMC and the faithful who attend them if they actually start having a few surprises in there that are big movies that people actually want to see.
Well, so when you start talking about doing the next one, I go to Reddit because everybody likes to kind of guess based on the runtime and rating, hey, what could this movie potentially be? And I haven't seen a consensus on what the next one could be, but I started looking back. How many of these have been done that I have actually gone to see the movie after the fact? I've only seen one of these movies so far, and it was Lisa Frankenstein. I only saw because my wife wanted to see. Outside of that,
And neither one of you had a good review of it.
I tell you back, American Fiction was back in November. It took me a while to see that, but I forgot that was one too. So I've seen two of them, but that's it.
My sister texted me this weekend with a film recommendation and said, you need to see Lisa Frankenstein. And I didn't know what to do with that information because what I've heard from you is it's very skippable.
It's very skippable. It's goofy. I mean, it has its moments, but outside of Juno, I guess Tully a little bit too. I haven't been a big Diablo Cody fan.
She did Jennifer's Body as well, right?
Yeah, which obviously I've avoided. But it's forgettable.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine if you just look, hey, I want to kill some time and it's on streaming, then go for it. But it's just a really goofy, teenage girl take on Frankenstein, basically.
Got it.
Gross.
Rockstar's back with us.
Good
When
morning.
I think of teenage girls, I think of Rockstar first and foremost.
That's interesting. You sound like my uncle.
This is a horrible transition.
Yeah.
Hey, it's April Fool's Day. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, okay. What do you got up your sleeve? My mic's not on?
Do you feel like April Fool's Day sucks? Do you feel like it's the worst of the holidays that exists?
I think it's overreach. I was just perusing Facebook before, and somebody reposted that Nick Saban has said he's back. He's tired of being retired. I'm back. And it's just that kind of stuff. And
That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever done in my life, even as a kid, done an April Fool's joke.
There's one out there on Facebook right now that's fooling a lot of people, and it is about the Brookwood Mall turning into an aquarium. Have y'all seen this?
No.
That's not true.
With beluga whales?
Yeah.
They said that you can swim with dolphins and all this stuff, and people are like, oh my gosh, this will be so great for the city and all this stuff.
Yeah, no maintenance at all.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, it's like, if you've made it this far through the entire description, just know April Fools. But like a lot of people don't read the description in that thing. They just see.
Repost.
Just read the headline, yeah.
Yeah, so.
We couldn't even get an Alamo Draft House here. Why are we going to be able to swim with dolphins?
Guys, we couldn't even get the Brookwood Mall to remain the Brookwood Mall. I don't know.
Because if
Would you
Atlanta can
swim?
have beluga whales, we can have one
Yeah,
too.
would you swim with Jay Cutler and Aronde Gadsden and who else? We got Ray Finkel,
Laces out.
Finkel and Einhorn.
It's a girl now, so yeah.
Those were all dolphins.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you could say like Dan
One was
Marino or something, been a little better, but
Aronde Gadsden is always the best. Just throw it out.
there's one April Fool's I found. I actually kind of, my biggest problem with April Fool's is not the stories like that because they're stupid. It's like,
It's too sensational.
But I hate when people come out with like, hey, here's a cool product we're coming out with. Haha, April Fool's. It's not a real thing. It's like, I really wanted whatever that product was. The Switch, Nintendo did one today that's called it's like a virtual boy for the Switch, and you just basically get a virtual reality helmet and slap your Switch to it, and you can walk around and it turns the Switch into a virtual reality thing. I was like, honestly, that would be cool as hell. They were playing like Smash Brothers, like, like an alternate, like imagine the Apple thing they just did, but you're playing Smash Brothers on it with like, I can still see y'all and talk to y'all while I'm playing Smash. It's like, that would be awesome. Then the tech is not there yet, but that would be awesome.
And you'd look cool doing it too.
You'd look really cool doing it.
That's what we need, more screens in our face. That would not be good. But thanks to the internet, every day is really April Fool's Day because there's constantly things trying to mislead us all the time. I hate the misleading trailers on YouTube. That's the thing that's the most frustrating. Now, I very rarely, if ever, fall for them. But the amount of people who it's like, hey, have you seen this new trailer, Tim? And it's like, that's fake. That's fake. That's fake. That's fake. But they're very convincing, and they rack up hundreds of thousands of views.
Oh, like I think Deadpool probably is the most recent one. That how many people have been really looking forward to the next Deadpool movie, knowing everything that comes with it. You find all these fan-made things online that's like, hey, there's a new Deadpool trailer. It's really just pulled from like every goofy Ryan Reynolds movie. There's like Green Lantern shots in there all of a sudden. It's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Okay, yeah, this one didn't fool me. I hate those.
Because the most egregious ones are when they spoil it in the trailer. I was right when John Wick 4 released, there was a fake trailer for John Wick 5 that came out, and like the thumbnail was end of John Wick 4.
Good job not getting in the spoiler territory.
I was waiting to like, don't do it, don't do it.
Hadn't seen the movie yet. I've never been so irrationally angry at a YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's how I had The Force Awakens spoiled for me, was YouTube. And it wasn't a video, it was the comment section. It was some random video that had nothing to do with The Force Awakens. And I scroll down to the comments, and it's like, oh, by the way, Han Solo dies. And it's like,
Twitch what? Chat got me on that one.
Wow, brutal. But anyway. The weekend box office, we have winners, we have losers, and the big winners this weekend were Godzilla and Kong. Their team up once again made lots of money at the box office. They collected a better than expected $80 million from a little over 3,800 North American theaters in the debut of this film. Heading into the weekend, the monster mashup was projected to earn $50 to $55 million, according to Variety, with Godzilla x Kong premium large formats accounting for 48% of ticket sales, and it landed an A- cinema score. It holds a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. So the audiences seem to love this movie. The critics seem to hate this movie. Tyler, does that surprise you in the least bit that audiences are all about it and critics seem to hate it?
Not at all. Not at all. This is what you want as an audience member, for a movie to just be able to turn your brain off and just watch big monsters fight. But if you're a critic trying to analyze the movie, you probably got tortured last week.
It feels like that's the argument that John has been making for weeks, of just go in and enjoy dumb fun. But John, you also seem to be the most critical of anybody while also giving it the highest score. This isn't an attack. Just hold on 1 second.
Just a little bit.
Godzilla x Kong producer Mary Parent says, quote, "The film feels like a cinematic event. It delivers in fresh ways that we haven't seen from these characters." John, do you agree with that assessment after having a weekend now to digest this latest Godzilla and Kong movie? Where do you sit with it?
I mean, for the most part, yes. But like, I'm also reading through Rotten Tomatoes. I just went, I guarantee if I find a negative review, I'll probably agree with it, which is why I like it. And sure enough, everything is about, well, it's such a loud, boisterous movie, and all they do is fight the whole time. It's like kind of what the whole point of the movie is.
But you want more dumb.
I want more dumb. Because somebody else is like, well, if they ever do another Godzilla movie, they need to go the Japanese route. And it's like, no, American Godzilla is American Godzilla. Japanese Godzilla is Japanese Godzilla. They need to keep it apart, but they need to fully go in the American side, just make it about the fighting. I mean, and you can watch our spoiler review for all even more complaining with specifics in it, but it's more of I came in with such high expectations because I expected it to be so dumb, and when they back off the dumbness for a little bit, which I get why you do it, but at the same time, it's like, back off the dumbness a little bit. I just want to watch the dumb and be entertained by it the whole time. And it's not that the whole time. You
really hated the human character element of this movie. It is bad. John's right. It's bad. But it's a necessary sort of evil to move the plot along. It's
not
a
always.
Necessary sort of evil to have
not always
somebody on screen who can narratively help continue the dialogue towards these meetups and mashups.
It's just when one of them gets hurt, they're hurt because they're limping or whatever. And it's like, he's hurt. I'm going to go get a closer look. Yeah, hey guys, he's hurt. We need to do something. He's hurt. Is he hurt? Yeah, I think he's hurt. It's like, he's hurt. That's the thing with because like you mentioned Planet of the Apes. I know we're about to get into that. CGI is now to a point that we don't have to have. You can see facial expressions. You can see tears in their eyes. You can see scratches on their body. Everything is so, good now that I don't need people to explain to me how King Kong is feeling or how Godzilla is feeling.
I think you could figure out a way to make it monsters all the time, 100% of the movie. But the humans do provide a breath to sort of catch your breath after these fights. They just add a little bit of comfort to the film.
Would this be any more appealing to you if they said this was in prehistoric time where there were no humans? Would that draw you in? Even I don't understand what's going to draw you in.
Now, from strictly the monsters perspective, yes. However, as crazy as they've made the monsters now and Godzilla, how he's turned himself, and this is a spoiler for this movie, it's kind of the way it's been the entire time. Godzilla has become what he is because of nuclear technology that wouldn't exist back then. But if I could have the same Godzilla and Kong fighting in prehistoric times, yes, I would much rather see that, because I would rather see it. As much as you want to watch them, slam each other up against buildings and stuff like that when they're fighting in the different cities and all that, I would switch those out for mountains any day of the week and say go back to 10,000 BC and make that a Godzilla versus Kong movie. But for them to have evolved to where they are, it's because of human interaction, and I think you can still show that, but you don't have to explain that to me. I get he went and ate this nuclear plant, and that's why all of a sudden he's nuclear. You don't have to explain. Let me tell you the science behind why he's all of a sudden, a nuclear bomb now. It's like, I get it. I get why. You
can't make him angry too, because he builds up, right? Does it leave it open? And please tell me there's an interpretation that they're going to be a rematch or something like that.
Hey, after this movie made $80 million this weekend in the North American box office, there will be another one. I promise you that. But you remember in Casino Royale the scene with Mathis where he's like going through the exposition,
explaining
what's happening at the table.
It's the one thing about that movie that's like, this is the dumbest thing ever.
The biggest criticism people have of that movie, and I don't mind it, but every time it happens in a movie, all I think about is that Casino Royale scene.
I'll tell you what, the worst ever. It's a random pick, but Mission to Mars. Tim Robbins, Don Cheadle. Trying to think, it was probably 90. No, it was in the 2000s.
Yeah, it was a little bit later.
They go to Mars, and they find out that Tim Robbins goes away real early in the film, but they over-explain everything. We're at Mars, and they see this thing, and they're like, oh, my God, these are supposed to be scientists from NASA. There's H2O here, and Don Cheadle looks, and another person goes, otherwise known as water. Like stuff like that, and it's just like, oh my God, that's what it is.
There's the way the
whole movie is that. Like, it treats the audience like such dumbasses. These are NASA scientists going, you mean otherwise known as water?
H2O.
Yeah.
That's exactly the way Casino Royale is. It's like if Tim and I are playing poker. Tim has $100, I have $100. Tim pushes all of his chips in the middle. It's like,
Bond will have to risk everything.
It's like John will have to go all in to call him. It's like, typically in a movie, when Tim shoves all his stuff in, it's my choice. I got to shove my stuff in,
too. The king is back.
They felt like it was necessary. Good line in the Rocky. They felt like it was necessary to do that in Casino Royale for the non-poker playing film
But
watchers.
There's so much of it that's just like, if you've existed in life, you kind
of know
How many movies
have a tense poker scene, though?
You're right.
A lot.
But you get the terminology wrong.
Yeah, but I know if I see somebody pushing all their chips, and I'm not thinking like, oh, he's got to buy everybody dinner.
Like I got to match that in order to.
Yeah, I don't know. Win. I can't play a single hand of poker, but I understand that when a guy pulls all his chips in, that something big's about to happen.
And think in the final hand, once they all finally get it in, because there's 4 people involved in the final hand in Casino Royale, he's like, $50 million in the pot. It's like, that was the whole point of it, trying to win $50 million. So yes, there's $50 million in the pot.
Is it a cash game or is it tournament style? Because
I've often wondered that too.
It's like,
was there a river?
Think they really knew. They got a poker dealer at the last possible point in Casino Royale. Anyway, I absolutely adore that movie.
Obviously,
there are some nitpicks for sure.
There are. Yeah.
This movie, Godzilla x Kong, is the second biggest debut for Warner Brothers and Legendary's MonsterVerse, following 2014's Godzilla, which made $93 million opening weekend. But it was ahead of 2017's Kong Skull Island, which me and John saw opening night with a person that was smoking in the theater.
We did.
That was interesting. Chain smoking. I'm talking about just...
It was awful.
It was bad. There were cigarette butts all on the ground.
It's a stressful movie.
The thing is, we couldn't see it, but we could smell it.
Yeah, like stadium seating, he go down and around into like the walkway, like where you walk in from the front. So he's covered by the seats on one side and a wall on the other side. But you can see the smoke a little bit, and of course you can smell it really bad. And it's like, that dude's down there smoking.
But you guys always, last Friday, talking about complaints to staff. Is that not something you would complain? Hey, there's a dude smoking. It is.
I could not confirm where it was happening. Yeah. I could not confirm because.
We didn't really confirm it until after the end. We walked out with their cigarette butts all on the walkway.
They would go to the walkway and smoke. And so we were just like, is this a 4D experience? Because we're in the jungles of Vietnam. And I'm like, are they just piping in the sort of smoke?
I like the way they did that. It's very subtle, but I get it.
Anyway, Kong Skull Island, there was $61 million. Godzilla King of the Monsters, $47.7 million. And 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong, it was $31 million opening weekend. But you have to remember, it also debuted day and date with the HBO Max release there. So Godzilla x Kong absolutely overperformed this weekend. In every capacity, it dominated, and it barely trailed another Warner Brothers movie for biggest opening of the year, with Dune Part 2 having $82.5 million. Rockstar transparent marketing is always good, in my opinion, when it comes to these films and getting people in the seats and telling them exactly what they're paying for. People knew, for better or worse, exactly what this movie was, and they showed up to support it. And I think that that's a good thing, right?
It is a good thing, but how did Ghostbusters do?
Well, that's what we're going to get into next year.
Well, I agree. John complains about it, but he still went to go see it. I know it's technically you have to see it for the, but
I see a lot of things I complain about.
But yeah, the human element, I guess you have to have it there. But it's great that it's there. I love that it's open ended because it's going to be another. You just said like 10 Godzilla movies in the past 6 years.
Well, they're all making money. That's
that's what's crazy.
Thing that correlates.
That's why they keep doing Fast and
Then
Furious
what the
movies,
hell
they're
happened
making
with the
money.
'98 version? Why did it take so
The
long?
Matthew Broderick movie.
The good one, I call it.
I don't think that one should be called the good one. It was a pretty big
Had a
disappointment.
good soundtrack. Had Rage on it.
I just think
No Shelter.
Yeah.
People paying for this movie, they knew they were going to get Godzilla. They knew they were going to get Kong. They knew they were going to get monster fights, and they got that. And I just think that is a good thing. It's a good relationship to have between a studio and its audience when it's actually making a pitch and it delivers on that pitch, which is why I think it's going to hold pretty well. Also because Ghostbusters is such a snooze fest. Literally, John literally fell asleep in Ghostbusters. That it is going to continue to fall off. We'll get into Ghostbusters here in just a little bit. Godzilla and Kong. They also, those movies, huge at the international box office. The New Empire, no different. Made $114 million from 64 overseas territories. So right now it's standing at $194 million worldwide. After 3 days of release, it's already the third highest grossing movie of the year, following Dune Part 2 and Kung Fu Panda 4. John, I expect this movie to hold really, really well over the coming weeks. And it's probably going to stay number one at least until Civil War comes out, which is in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Monkey Man is really the only big release. I guess the first Omen, but it's a smaller audience. Monkey Man, I don't think will do really, really good at the theater to where I would imagine it'd stay number one. Plus, it'll keep most of the big screens. Monkey Man will take some because really until Civil War, I think, is the next week. That's when IMAX and all would disappear. But I expected to hold, and I mean, it was my number 5 on Lunce's list of the highest grossing movies of the year, and I was between it, Planet of the Apes, and Dune. Dune has proved to be successful, but if this passes Dune the way it's going, because it pretty much had a similar domestic opening weekend, not going to surprise me in the least.
The New Empire carries a budget of $135 million. And remember, the revenues that come in doesn't go straight to the studio. You got to split that with the theaters as well for distributing, for hosting the films and showing them. These exhibitors get paid in this count as well. Let's get to number 2 on the weekend box office, and that is going from the New Empire to the Frozen one. Yes, Ghostbusters ended up plummeting this weekend on poor word of mouth. And it was a 65% decline from week to week. I'm not surprised by this at all.
Can I ask a stupid question y'all may know the answer to? If I am behind Ghostbusters and I pick a date, that release date, do I know in advance that, hey, Godzilla and Kong are going to be the next week? Can I move it? Or do they know how far in advance, hey, you got 1 week to be supreme, but then you're going to get destroyed because... Are you aware of that?
There reaches a certain point that you're going to know that. You may not the minute you set the date, but you see stuff move all the time too because the studio will come in and say, well, we realize we're about to get
But was this the right move to put it here? Should it be put to the summer?
No, they should have. You're talking about for Ghostbusters?
January or something like that.
Could have been earlier, but even 2 weeks earlier because once word gets out.
You got to give it 2 weeks. I think then if it dropped 65%, just saying just knowing all the money you put up, we got to bank on opening weekend, that we got to make all our money on opening weekend because Kong's coming out and we're done.
The week before the biggest movie was Arthur the King.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. If it had come out a week before, it would have made more money.
Yeah. Because before that,
how can you, that's what I'm saying. How can you project that and forecast that as a studio, to maximize your money
to
earn?
There's a lot of people paid a lot of money for the analytics on when things are going to perform and when they're not.
Ghostbusters,
the problem with it is not the release date because it technically overperformed opening weekend. The problem is they knew they had a week entry on their hands and they had to get it some limelight before it ended up getting overtaken, and that's what happened here with Godzilla X Kong. And Ghostbusters is only going to continue to plummet here. It's generated $73.4 million at the domestic box office, $108.5 million globally, but the movie cost $100 million. That's not including the marketing behind this film, which has been a huge level of expense, probably also like $100 million to market it. And this has been something that is not going to stick around much longer because it is such a boring entry. and it's something that once word of mouth got out about it, it's not going to hold well. So that's where Ghostbusters is right now. Universal and DreamWorks Animation's Kung Fu Panda 4 remained in third place with $10 million. Rockstar, funny story here. Jack Black has been promoting this movie in China.
Oh.
But the funny twist is that Jack Black is not in the Chinese version of this movie because all of his lines are dubbed by a Chinese actor. So isn't that kind of
That's
funny?
It is funny, but also mad respect to Jack Black. I don't need to be here, do I?
That's basically
Am
it.
I selling it? Like but like just.
I mean, I bet he
Jack,
still gets a paycheck for it.
Jack Black seems
Does he?
awesome. And
Does he get a paycheck?
No, I'm saying
for-
to go promote it.
To
He
go
gets
promote
paid
Well,
it.
to
that's
go
part of
promote
your
it.
deal. It's like promotion, is it not?
I guess what I'm wondering is based on residuals of the movie and
Did
how
anybody
well it
else go?
performs.
Is it just Jack Black? Was it just him by himself from the film in China?
Well, I mean, there are Chinese actors in the American version.
I'm talking about
like Kiwei Kwan is one of the people. He may could have done his,
Jack Black was the face of the marketing push
Correct.
in China, even though, once again, he's not in the film. So
because they
just-
pulled everybody else out. It's
interesting.
pretty much Jack Black and a bunch of other smaller names.
I like Jack Black.
Dune Part
It's
2.
going to be Minecraft Steve.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jack Black and Chris Pratt. If they're not in the same movie together doing voices, they're just tackling voices all across.
What about Tenacious D?
Tenacious D is great at a point. The Pick of Destiny was not a bad film.
I love the Pick of
Tenacious
Destiny.
D was a funny show. They've got some great songs. It's not something that I'm going to jam out to Tenacious D. Like, it's just something if it comes on, like that's funny to have. And they're talented musicians. Kyle Gass is a great guitarist, and Jack Black's a great singer. But he's just like, I can't be serious now because if he comes out with a serious album, it's like, this is obviously a character he's playing. It sucks that you can't. Like,
They need to do a cover album. I feel like.
the
they could
Britney
do a
Spears
really
thing
good
is that
cover
One More
album.
Time is amazing.
Yeah.
What if during they launched a sequel called The Toothpick of Destiny? You think that would be good?
Who would be their dentist?
Well, I think it should be Alabama Dental Associates,
Oh!
Rocky. Yes, I'm so happy to have found a dental solution in my life. For all of my dental care needs, located on Grants Mill Road, Alabama Dental Associates, led by Dr. Jeff and Dr. Brian, they make sure, first and foremost, that their patients are always comfortable with the dental care in which they are receiving. They have all the latest dental health technology, so you know that you're receiving the most advanced care possible, but it's the friendliness that really makes the experience one that you're going to keep coming back to. After you visit their practice, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're ready to find that perfect dental team, reach out and try them for yourself. They can help you feel at ease knowing you're taking care of yourself the right way. For more information or to make an appointment, call them at 205-956-8977 or visit alabamadental.com. They look forward to seeing you. Right in the number 4 spot, that would be Dune Part 2. Continues to hold really well, dropping just 41% this 5th weekend on the big screen. The sci-fi epic has collected $9.85 million over the weekend. That makes for a $251 million run domestically to date. It's currently the highest grossing movie of the year with $626 million worldwide. The IMAX total alone is now $133.7 million globally, including $72 million from overseas markets. Tyler, you're seeing Dune for a 5th time tonight.
Yes, I am.
Good man, Tyler.
Now, you'd seen it in premium formats the past 2 times you went to go see it. Are you feeling like you're going to have a little bit of a come down here going back to a normal theater to watch this?
No, it's been a few weeks since I've seen it, so I'm happy to see it again.
A few weeks. You went and saw it last week, didn't you?
No, I don't think it was last week.
I think it was early last week. Early last week he saw it, I think.
No way.
No, maybe it was before Ghostbusters. Maybe it was.
Last week I saw Winnie the Pooh and
Maybe it
like
was 2
the
weeks
Scream
ago.
Unseen.
I'll give you that.
I tried to
I'm
forget about
sorry.
that.
I'm trying to keep up with all 5 times in which you've gone to see Dune Part 2. But it's your favorite movie of the year. You love this thing. And it's a movie that I guess you would say is insanely rewatchable based on the fact that, I mean, how many times have you seen the original Dune? And by the original Dune, I mean the Denis Villeneuve version.
Yeah, I was waiting for a clarification
There you
there. I've seen it 2 or 3 times.
Okay. So you've seen this movie 5 times just in the theater alone.
Yes.
Okay. When this thing comes to Max, I have a feeling we'll know where Tyler is when he goes missing.
Yes.
He'll just been watching this thing on loop. Sydney Sweeney's religious horror film Immaculate rounded out the top 5 with $3.2 million from a little over 2,300 locations, down just 41% from the prior weekend. Neon is backing the movie that earned $11.1 million after 2 weeks in theaters total. This is a film that held pretty well week over week. Neon is loving what Immaculate is doing right now in terms of box office numbers. I'm going to see this movie later on today before we go play poker. And your wife saw it. And Tyler, you saw it. John, you refused to see this movie according to the staff at the AMC Summit location.
Yes, they made fun of me for not going to see this movie. I mean, look, I get the Sydney Sweeney hype train. I was all on it with Euphoria. I saw Anyone But You, saw, unfortunately, Madam Web. This just happens to be the one I'm not going to see, so sue me.
I will let you know how it is, but I do not plan to take legal action against you. Late Night with the Devil topped the specialty market in its second week. It grossed $2.2 million on over 1,400 screens in week 2 for a cum of $6.2 million. The film is in the top 10 again at number 7. It continues to defy horror release norms. It only dropped 22%, going from week 1 to week 2, which is outstanding for any film, but especially a horror movie, as word of mouth on this thing has been strong. We had a question in the chat from Charles trying to choose between 2 movies to go see, Late Night with the Devil or Monkey Man. Which one would you guys recommend? Well, Monkey Man comes out technically Thursday night. It opens wide Friday, but previews happen Thursday night. So I can't tell you whether or not that movie delivers. But I think Late Night with the Devil is a movie that you remember seeing in a theater. I think it is something that pays off in the theater. It's got a good hook. Having seen it myself, I can only go with what I've seen so far, even though, Tyler, Monkey Man is one of your most anticipated movies coming out this year.
Oh, yeah. So I loved Late Night with the Devil. I think I've got that as my second favorite movie of the year so far. But Monkey Man's one of my most anticipated. I had no idea this movie existed until I saw the trailer before we watched Argyle a couple months ago, and the trailer hooked me immediately. The visual style, the cinematography, it's John Wick in Mumbai, like the tagline was.
One of the most memorable things about Argyle, the trailers. So there you go.
Oh, my God.
That's how bad it was.
I mean, it's the
that
truth,
movie
yeah.
was garbage.
Rockstar, I'm waiting to try to bring you to a movie that matters. That's my biggest thing. So I want to invite you out to the film. I don't think you didn't really want to see that from what I've heard.
No. I'll make the sacrifice, though. I don't want to see Immaculate. I don't want to see stuff like that. I don't like the Exorcist kind of stuff.
I think we're going to bring you to Civil War. I think we're going to see Civil War together.
Okay, good Guns N' Roses song.
It is.
There you
Track
go.
number 1 of Usually Losing.
Good Captain America
2.
movie, too.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually
Opens
happened in the 1860s in our country.
Right.
Opens with a clip
General
from
Robert
Cool
E.
Hand
T.
Luke.
Yep, General Robert E.T.
I keep showing that to people.
Do they laugh?
It laughs. It gets a laugh
Oh,
every
good.
time.
Good.
Every time. But I force them to watch the whole thing. The
Well,
whole
it's 2
documentary.
minutes.
I know, but it feels like you go through a whole experience.
1862. Oh, my God. How long is this?
Speaking of upcoming movies, tickets have gone on sale with an extended IMAX trailer for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes dropping today, showing Freya Allen's character being hunted by gorillas. It's from director Wes Ball. The upcoming sequel is set 300 years after War for the Planet of the Apes, which is the one with Woody Harrelson, as humanity has mostly been wiped out. In turn, ape civilizations have flourished, and each has interpreted Caesar's teachings differently, with some societies distorting the principles and subjecting fellow apes and remaining humans to enslavement. One such community is governed by the oppressive Proximus Caesar. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes releases in theaters on May 10th. John, you got a chance to see the trailer today, the new one, the IMAX exclusive. Did it do anything for you? Because you've been sort of lukewarm on this thing.
I continue to be lukewarm on this. It
Ooh.
showed basically the same thing. It just basically had a fuller scene of something we had already kind of seen in the trailers. That, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I like Planet of the Apes movies fine, but it's just fine. I don't lose my mind over them.
This is one of my most anticipated of the year. I'm very excited for this. I have an affinity for the series, dating back all the way to the original.
Mark Wahlberg? Sorry,
See,
go ahead.
No, it's fine. Well, now we got to talk about it. I was very excited for the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie
Correct.
starring Mark Wahlberg that came out in 2001, I believe.
Yeah.
And I saw it in a casino, at the movie theater at the casino in Biloxi, Mississippi, because it was one of the only things I could do, and I was so excited to see this. And it was one of those defining movies for me of something I was so excited to see and walked out feeling so disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the first moments in my life where I had that feeling, where it was just like really deflating. I think I may have had that experience with Batman and Robin had I seen it in the theater, but I watched it at home for the first time because
Okay.
I was only 7 or 8 when it came out. Loved Batman Forever, hated Batman and Robin, and that was the first movie I'd watched. I'm like, I think this thing sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was thinking while I was watching it at 7 or 8. That was the first one. But this was the first one after a theater-going experience where I was like, even the popcorn couldn't save this movie. I would love to go back and revisit it. I still bought it on the 2-disc DVD. I still went through all the different, but I wanted to like it. It's how a lot of people approach The Phantom Menace, where they watched it for the first time and they're like, I don't think I like that, but I want to like it, so I'm going to go back and watch it a second time, a third time, a fourth time. And it just never really got better for me.
Although it has grown on people, I feel like, in recent years to where maybe you go back and watch that old Planet of the Apes. It's like, you know what? This wasn't as bad as I thought. I honestly couldn't tell you. I watched it once and hated it. So
I'll check it out again. I need to revisit it. Paul Giamatti's great in it. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember who played the main villain in that. It's the guy who played the villain, Tim Roth.
Yeah.
Tim Roth played the main villain. Michael Clark Duncan's fantastic in it. The performances are there. It's just the whole thing is not very good. Tyler, I know you're very excited about this next Planet of the Apes movie. This is a franchise I feel like that is going to be profitable this year. I think there's an appetite for it. I think Godzilla x Kong will only help the appetite for Planet of the Apes.
because it's a Planet of the Apes movie. Sorry.
Yeah, there were a few sequences in Godzilla x Kong where I thought, yeah, this just makes me more excited for Planet of the Apes.
Part of why I wasn't as high on it, to be fair.
Because there's that whole sequence with the Scar King's army and Kong fighting, and it's warring ape factions. But this new Planet of the Apes trailer looks really good. You get to see that one shot of Caesar saving Nova off of a horse.
That's not Caesar, though.
Oh yeah, that's not Caesar. Shoot, Caesar's son. What's his name?
It may be
It's
Caesar's
not, it's
son.
not a son. It's 300 years later,
Yeah,
so it's...
I don't think son. I think it would be maybe in his lineage. But
Yeah.
Caesar-looking fellow.
Little Caesar.
There you go. There you go. And he was hot and ready right there on the
Oh,
horse.
my God.
The thing is, I think the bad guy's name is Caesar. The bad
Proximus
king.
Caesar, yeah.
Well, that won't confuse fans. Well, watching the trailer, I reminded, I don't know if Lunsford remembers this, but I got really into a video game. I think it was the original maybe Fallout 3. Is that the one of the goblins had like sledgehammers? They're going. You hide from them, and then there's a point to this in that trailer. And one of the guys says nonstop when you're hiding from him is, "You're here! Oh my God, you're here! I smell your fear. I can smell you." And that's what he says in the. I'm like, that first thing I thought of was Fallout and those goblins. God bless you, my child.
John, are you okay?
You can't hide from the apes, by the way.
It's starting.
I know
I'm
you're
sorry.
muting your channel. You're
sorry.
muting your microphone. I'd rather you just sneeze near the microphone and get the full encapsulation of why we're all scarred. You going to do it again?
Just keep talking and we'll see.
Look at the light. Look at the light. It'll bring it out. Go ahead.
Just
Get
go.
it out of your
Just
system.
go.
I'm
Just
gonna
go. It's stuck.
Okay, we'll leave that there. Let's get to one film that went straight to streaming. That is Amazon MGM Studios' Roadhouse. The Jake Gyllenhaal-led remake of the Patrick Swayze cult favorite appears to be a hit on Prime Video, as they have officially announced that the action film has attracted over 50 million worldwide viewers on the service
Highest grossing movie of the year, according to Zack Snyder.
over its first 2 weekends, which makes it the studio's most watched produced film debut ever on a worldwide basis. They're very proud of this thing. Variety points out, however, that the company did not stipulate what it considers a view. Also, Amazon reported the numbers
Nitpicking.
after 2 weekends instead of 1, which makes the figures look bigger.
I have scrolled past it on Prime, so if I'm a view, then there you go.
I feel like we need like a YouTube Studio app for some of those streaming services where you can see the average watch time, everything.
See, that's one benefit that these streaming services have. They get all the data, and they don't have to actually produce any of it that is transparent here.
Very much cherry picking what they want to make it look good.
Yeah. Amazon's viewership figure isn't just limited to that Friday through Sunday period. It also includes the first 10 days that it was available to customers, as it debuted on March 21st. And the film did, however, according to a third party here, perform strongly on Luminate's weekly streaming rankings with 1.7 billion minutes watched between March 22nd and March 28th, making it the most watched streaming original of the week, pointing to an estimate of 13.9 million views in the U.S., according to Luminate. That's what they could track down and confirm. Roadhouse's path to streaming success, though, was one that was tumultuous. We've talked about it a lot here, John, in that you had the director of the film basically willing to boycott the premiere of the film at South by Southwest because he wanted it to go to theaters, which actually makes a lot of sense because this movie would have made at least over $100 million in its theatrical run.
It would have had 50 million people see it, but it would have made some money over whatever.
I know Amazon's not hurting for cash flow. They want more and more people to sign up for Prime. And in order to do that, they felt like they needed to first put it out only there instead of having people see it in the theater, then maybe having a reason to not sign up for Prime. So, Tyler, I know you are soon going to be watching Fallout on Prime. Is Roadhouse something you're going to get around to?
No.
Okay. Good answer. I've seen it. It's not that bad. It's mimicked a lot online, especially all the Conor McGregor stuff, but it could have been a much bigger hit had it gotten a theatrical release window. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Universal Pictures is adjusting plans for 2 upcoming horror titles from Blumhouse. The studio announced that Wolfman, the werewolf thriller from filmmaker Lee Winnell, has delayed its release by 3 months and will now open wide in theaters January 17th, 2025. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this.
Still angling for Ryan Gosling, I see.
They are not.
He's taking a long time to transition.
Working that schedule out.
Ryan Gosling was set to appear in this movie originally, and now it's going to end up being Christopher Abbott, who we most recently saw in Poor Things. Mm-hmm. And he's also been in Apple TV Plus's The Crowded Room and can be seen soon in Sony's forthcoming film Kraven the Hunter, which none of us have high expectations for. But Christopher Abbott replacing Ryan Gosling in this film. Ryan Gosling still listed as an executive producer on this, by the way. So another reason for Laurel to maybe go see it, John.
Sure.
This can be looked at one of 2 ways. Either that this movie is in trouble and has been in trouble for a long time and this thing's going to be a disaster because it's been all kinds of production issues with it. Or number 2, they're just trying to get out of that crowded October window because October has become one of the biggest movie months of the year because you're not only getting all these horror movies, but you're also getting potential Academy Award contenders as well appearing in October, including Joker Part 2. So my question is, John, which way do you lean with Wolfman? Do you think it's production issues or do you think they're just trying to move out of October so they have a space to not compete against hardly anything? Because we all know January, February, it's very slow.
Well, and it was the last weekend of October, so you had maybe a couple of weeks before the Thanksgiving movie started getting all the hype coming that way. It was supposed to come out the same day as Venom, which I would have leaned just right now would have made more money than Wolfman, and because those have at least been somewhat decently received from all the terrible Sony Spider-Man movies. And then Terrifier 3, which if you're wanting to get into the spirit and you're more into that, you're going to go see because it ain't going to last very long in the theaters, I would assume, to where you're coming out against a more niche horror movie, but it has grown in popularity, and then a big property in Venom to where, yes, you need to move far, far away from that and try to get to, I mean, look, I think Invisible Man came out like January, February, like
it was a February release
that time, and I think ultimately was pretty successful because of that. So why not try to? Because same director, same producer. Why not just take that Blumhouse movie, put it to a time that's a little better for you?
Horror movies can work year round. They can work year round. There is not a bad month to release a good horror movie. So maybe there's 2 things. Maybe they're just trying to get it to where it's perfect, and they're trying to secure a window where they have less competition because October is stacked for sure. But it was one of my most anticipated of the year, and now it will be one of my most anticipated of 2025. I believe there were a couple of movies that were supposed to come out last weekend, including Spider-Man. What's the next Spider-Man called?
Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Beyond the Spider-Verse. Man, y'all said that in unison.
Beyond the Spider-Verse.
That was intense. Hey, don't do that because EG doesn't know what a crooner is. And Beyond the Sea is still very troubling to her, I think.
It's a type of coin.
And then there was another movie that was supposed to come out this past weekend that now I can't remember. Oh, it was a Mickey 17.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Not that Mickey
Bong Joon-ho movie.
Yeah, latest Bong Joon that we may never see. I firmly believe you will see Beyond the Spider-Verse at some point because they got to make that happen. I don't know if we'll ever see Mickey 17.
Another movie's being delayed in this as well. Universal announced that Blumhouse's The Woman in the Yard, which was previously set for theatrical release January 10th, 2025, it has actually been removed from the calendar altogether. The the studio plans to announce a new release date at a later time. So Blumhouse making some moves, Universal making some moves.
Now, I will say the Blumhouse 2025 slate so far is Wolfman, Megan 2, and Black Phone 2. So Megan, I think, ultimately pretty successful, in Black Phone, one of the best things I think he's probably ever done. So I think that's a pretty good list so far for 2025. I
want to get into another horror movie that's making headlines as well. Neve Campbell confirming recently that she's returning to play Sidney Prescott in Scream 7. Now, we are hearing that Courtney Cox is in final talks to return as Gale Weathers, and that Patrick Dempsey is currently in talks to return as Detective Mark Kincaid. The original piece of casting news came from Hollywood insider Daniel Richtman. The last time that we saw Kincaid was in Scream 3, and he was supposed to reprise the role for Scream 4, but a scheduling conflict kept McDreamy out of it as he was filming Transformers Dark of the Moon. It forced him to drop out. It was strongly hinted in the 2022 Scream movie that most of us call Scream 5 that Mark and Sidney were married, and that was later confirmed by the directors.
Awful bad guy in Transformers, by the way.
Yeah, was that a good decision to go be in Transformers 3?
I mean, now Transformers 3 made way, way more money, but I did not think he was very good in it.
Trust me, he went where the paycheck was. Yeah. But guess what? The paycheck is now going to be potentially in Scream 7. But Courtney Cox, Neve Campbell coming back, it seems, for sure. Patrick Dempsey, potentially. Kevin Williamson wrote on Instagram, quote, "It's been nearly 30 years since my very first script, Scream, was directed by the legendary Wes Craven. I never would have predicted what it would become, or that I would be directing the 7th installment of the franchise. I'm overcome with gratitude and excitement, and I can't wait to take this journey with Neve and the entire Scream family as we bring back Sidney Prescott in the next chapter of the Scream franchise. Thank you to all the Scream fans. You are the gift that keeps giving. I promise you this, that is a movie that Laurel will be there opening night. I will be as well. John, you will be drugged to it as well.
Correct.
And I cannot wait for Scream 7, which may just be sort of the final chapter of the Sidney Prescott saga. It could be.
She got to have a daughter.
They're running out of narrative runway here.
The biggest thing is they've lost all the young people that they have tried to establish. So now, once the old people, not to call them old, but they're older, disappear, you literally have nothing else to do.
I think this will be the last Scream movie of this timeline, and then I think we will get a reboot, a hard reboot. They're running out of options. They got to do that. How many times can you watch Gale Weathers and Sidney Prescott
7
get stabbed and survive?
Closely survive, yeah.
Also, there's a new Batista movie that's coming out. Trap House is the name of the movie. It will star Dave Bautista as a DEA agent who has to work with his partner to face a surprising enemy, their own teenage children, who've appropriated their parents' tactics and intelligence to pull off daring heists against a deadly drug cartel. Collider reports that the film will be helmed by Canadian director Michael Dowse, who previously directed Bautista and Stuber, from a script by Gary Scott Thompson. John, do you know what Gary Scott Thompson is known for?
Gary Scott Thompson, I do not.
The Fast and the Furious. He wrote The Fast and the Furious and many Fast and the Furious movies. Oh. Does that heighten your expectation for this film, Trap House?
Not necessarily.
Well, you love Batista.
I do love Batista.
You love Gary Scott Thompson sending these Vin Diesel-esque individuals to space and stuff.
He did the first two. First one good, second one, woof.
He also did Fast X.
Okay, not helping.
Tom O'Connor is also writing. He did The Hitman's Bodyguard. I never saw that movie, but I heard things. Deadline reports that filming on the thriller...
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Deadline reports that filming on the thriller is happening right now as we speak. Today is the first day of shooting on this thriller Trap House. No release date has been set. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a comedy. Seems like it's going to be a hard-nosed action thriller. So I don't know if tonally they're going to be able to pull this thing off, but we're all buying up all the stock that we can in Dave Bautista and what he's done in his film career.
I mean, Batista and Cena, I think both are pretty good movie careers right now. I would say much better than The Rock, even though he's been in a million things, to where they could potentially go. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Batista known for encapsulating a lot of different looks here recently, obviously with Dune Part 2, which Tyler has seen 5 times.
4. Have it.
Well,
5.
We'll have seen 5.
We'll have seen 5 later
times.
tonight.
Knock at the Cabin, he looked very different. He has a lot of different looks. John, we're changing our physique as well.
Oh, God.
With the group at Way to Wellness.
I was wondering where
It's
you're
all
going with that.
physician supervised, and it's something that we're very excited to be on. It's a program that's working for us.
It is working for us. Got our next weigh-in coming up this week at some point. Go to aplanforme.com. You can start weighing in as well with our friends at Way to Wellness. Visit Leslie and her whole board-certified team. The doctors there, everybody there helps me, helps Tim, helps Jim Dunaway, helps my dad. It's a whole family affair. Go to aplanforme.com. You can learn more, get that consultation, see if the program's right for you, and they will build a customized plan that will help you lose weight, just like Tim and I have.
There's a lot of fight movies that are currently available for audiences to enjoy. There's Dune Part 2, which has some epic fights in it. There's Godzilla x Kong for sure. There's Roadhouse on Amazon Prime Video.
Roadhouse.
It's now time to put up your dukes. Fisticuffs are upon us.
Let's get down to it.
There have been plenty of fights over the cinematic landscape, but which brawls are among the most notable according to John Lunsford? Let's get ready to discuss the personal picks on another brand new edition of Lunce's List.
What is this? What is this? Nonsense list, nonsense list, oh. What is this? What is this? Nonsense list, nonsense list, oh. Nonsense list to buy. Nonsense list to buy. Nonsense list to buy. Nonsense list to buy.
John, the task is this. Profile the 5 fight scenes from movies prior to 2024 that you truly love. I apologize. The Roadhouse remake cannot touch this list, and I know that upsets you.
I hate that. Yeah. Here's the thing. So I a lot of times I'll come up with my list, and I'm like, I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Let me go look up and see, hey, did I forget this one? Did I forget this one? Whenever I look up best fights, it's always movies I have never seen. Like, let's go to Old Boy, or let's go to I can't name anything. That's just one that popped up a bunch. But there's a bunch of movies. Honestly,
The Raid.
They
Live.
That's one. They Live got mentioned a million times, which I've never seen that movie. I know what it is, but
You've never seen They Live?
I've never seen They Live.
I think it's John Carpenter's best, personally. Oh, I just insulted Tim because he's a big fan of The Thing and also the original Halloween.
I was about to say.
Did he do Big Trouble in Little China?
Just Halloween is at the top of the John Carpenter list for me.
Halloween.
Tyler.
We were just talking about our Letterboxd top 4, which is like the thing now. They go ask all these celebrities, and we literally talking about that, of which Halloween is one of Tim's.
It's one of my top 4 movies ever made.
You said John Carpenter. I don't even think anything but Halloween first in my mind, and
It's
then go to
fine.
other things.
Tyler, you're good.
I thought you had called The Thing one of John Carpenter's greatest movies one day.
I have no doubt that The Thing is one of John Carpenter's greatest movies. For me, it's Halloween, and then everything else is just a big drop off, and then everything else can be thrown in the same thing. But we both agree that They Live is a wonderful film. Can we just?
Underrated.
Don't let Lunsford tear us apart, okay?
I just said I haven't seen it. I didn't
What
say it
we
was
have
bad.
is special, Tyler, and you don't let him, okay? I don't want you every other weekend. I want you every day, okay?
Anyway, I haven't seen a lot of these movies that involve, the great like Chinese fighters. Honestly, the most I've seen of that is probably Rush Hour.
Oh, my.
That's just not my style of movie.
Good movie, though.
The old kung fu movies, they just don't really do it for me. So I know there's a ton of those out there that you could pick from. This is more, I guess, Americanized movies that I'm going to choose from here. Also, I'm not a big. I didn't go through and say like, hey, what's the best Rocky fight? Like,
That's a shame. I think Rocky Fight deserves to be in here.
I'm not a huge Rocky fan. I like the Creed series overall more than I like the Rocky series, but I'm just not big on really any of those. Plus, I think full choreographed fights as opposed to you're just in the ring. There's a lot more to be
Is
said
your
for a lot
goal to
of
get
those.
everybody to hate you before the list, or is it? I mean,
Yeah, because once I do the list, if then y'all hate me, it's like Anyway.
Okay, let's start with number 5
Also,
before
I'm
we
not,
start fighting.
I'm not including fights from the same movie, so if I have one, then I'll give an honorable mention for some other stuff.
Good. I like that. Okay. Whew, John really talked himself into almost a total knockout there.
Oh, God. Jeez. Oof.
Rocky, do you have like a favorite fight sequence from a movie?
Tong Po, and when I was growing up, I was a huge Van Damme fan. Kickboxer 1, the original Tong Po, where
Is that your favorite Van Damme movie?
A Street Fighter?
never saw. I gave up. I think Kickboxer was the last one. I saw Cyborg and
Bloodsport?
Bloodsport's
Bloodsport
great.
was great. Double Impact was like he played
Autumn
2 characters. Double Impact.
I think we've still yet to play with Jean-Claude Van Damme in the Mortal Kombat 1.
No, well, because nobody wants. It's Johnny Cage, right?
Johnny
Yeah,
Cage.
nobody
Johnny
wants to play
Cage.
Johnny
Johnny
Cage.
Cage.
He's so bad.
Not good with Johnny Cage. All right.
Anyway,
Number
all right.
5, Morpheus versus Neo. think I slept during this part, John.
Oh, this is the first introduction. Yeah, this is the first introduction to what fighting in the Matrix could be that ultimately ended up expanding from there. I think the fight in the second Matrix movie, The Matrix Reloaded, when he fights all of the Merovingians goons in like the castle, I think that's a really well choreographed fight as well, and has more of the stopping bullets in my hand, I'm jumping up and down, all that kind of stuff. But this is one that kind of, hey, this is the world we're setting up for the Matrix. I thought it was a really good fight, and it's kind of, you know, your introduction to what these characters ultimately are going to be. I think it's a really, really solid fight.
I agree with John.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Did you like the Matrix overall?
Yep. I love the Matrix.
Did you like the second, third one?
They were okay, but the original Matrix was awesome. It was so original, but I would take that over. But I did not see the Revolutions, the newest one where he's got long hair.
It's worth watching one time.
Yep.
Just because you've seen the rest of them.
Yep. The Matrix 1 is amazing.
I cannot fake
it's a good fight too.
I can't fake enthusiasm for the Matrix. I'm not a Matrix fan. I think it's one of the most overrated movies ever made. It just does not do it for me. I don't think it holds up, et cetera, et cetera. I went and saw it in the 2023 theatrical re-release, and I never fall asleep in movies, I promise. I fell asleep in that one because I just don't like the Matrix. I can't get into it. The video game was trash.
Enter the Matrix?
Enter the Matrix was
Enter
good.
the Matrix was
Thought it was
incredible.
trash.
Oh,
Thought it
it
was
was
trash.
incredible.
Should have taken the blue pill.
I didn't like it.
The Matrix Online wasn't very good. But anyway, this fight also redone in the latest Matrix, although with...
And it's a dead franchise because of what was mentioned with the last one. And anyway, I can't get into it.
It could have... I think at some point it'll have some legs and the Wachowskis would need some money or something, but...
Let's go with number 4. Number 4 on Lunce's list. I know I'm in the minority. I know people absolutely love The Matrix. It is one of those tentpole films for a lot of people, and I just can't get into it. Don't know what's wrong with me. Number 4.
Winter Soldier.
Elevator. Oh, okay.
I'm out.
Okay. Now this one I can get behind. This is a good fight sequence. Happens in an elevator. By the way, we're gonna have to figure out the camera situation. It's not you.
It is me.
It is you. But I mean, number 4, Winter Soldier elevator fight. Number 5, Morpheus versus Neo. But
yeah, this is a good one. I mean, I love the whole, hey, before we get started, does anybody want to get out thing? As slowly but surely all the people are coming in. It's really well done. Yeah, I don't know. This is up there for me. Now, there's a lot you could pull from the Avengers. I actually went, don't know why. We played Rocket League till like 3 a.m. Saturday night and into Sunday morning.
we won 6 straight games, by the way.
Hell yeah.
We did
Ended
pretty
up
good.
finishing 8-4. But we won 6 straight in that 8-4.
Wow.
We felt like Gus Malzahn for a hot minute.
Well, that's good for you. That's good stuff.
But, you know, for some reason, one of my favorite pastimes now is to go and watch audience reactions to all the big stuff that happens in Marvel, the Endgame, you know, on your left, all that kind of stuff. And ended up on this, surprisingly enough. And I don't even know if you'd sent me my list yet. But this is a great scene. This is right after the fight's over, and he kicks his shield up and walks out. I think, you know, Captain America versus Thanos when he first gets the hammer, a little more of an individual, apart from Endgame if you wanted to pick that. And then also Cap and Bucky in Civil War versus Iron Man.
We get what I love is we also get the elevator sequence in Endgame
Yes.
with the Hail Hydra thing.
Right.
Which I thought was genius when I saw it in the theater for the first time.
That was Endgame. Yeah.
That was Endgame when they're doing all the time travel and all this stuff. Thought that was absolutely ingenious. Even though,
really good scene.
let me see, it wasn't the same elevator though, right? Because this was the one coming down from Stark Tower.
So yeah, this one has. I can't remember the character's name, but there's a guy during the elevator fight scene who's not in there.
Yeah.
That is like watching on the security camera, who's trying to control things to get the elevator stop and everything. He's involved. That's the one he says Hail Hydra to. Yeah. So I don't know.
It happened in an elevator, but it was two totally different things.
Yeah, same kind of thing. But anyway,
but it was a callback to that. Let's be honest.
It was good fight though.
All right, let's move on to number 3 of Lunce's list. Best movie fights is what we're looking for here. Most memorable, ones that John has the most affinity for, one that John makes the argument are awesome. However you want to phrase it.
Oh, I know where this is going. The Duel of the Fates from Phantom Menace.
I thought you hated this fight sequence. You have had grievances with this fight sequence. This is correct that this should be on here.
Is this Darth Maul?
This
Yes.
is the Darth Maul fight.
Were they waiting in the waiting room?
This could be number 1. But I don't even remember what brought it up one day. My complaint with this fight and why it's number 3 and not number 1 is I hate the force fields at the end.
Yes.
The tension that it brings does not even remotely match the intensity of the fight. And it was solely there as a plot device for Qui-Gon Jinn to get got, and that's pretty much it.
I referenced The Phantom Menace earlier in today's episode. I seem to be doing that more and more where I reference a film that makes Lunce's list. But the best part of The Phantom Menace, episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the best part by far.
Pod racing.
No, it's this fight.
Jar Jar.
This fight. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. It's fantastic. The music, that music is what I think is the best single piece of music from the prequels, and it's not even close.
It is.
And I don't have a problem with the force field slowing things down and making it a little bit more paced because remember, there's a bunch of other scenes happening while this fight is happening as well.
For Darth Maul to be fully badass, to me, he should have won the 1v2 and killed Qui-Gon Jinn, that then Obi-Wan can win the fight after that. It shouldn't have been, we're going to stop. Oh, it's 1v1 now. You're dead. Okay, now let's fight Obi-Wan. That's what my biggest complaint with it. And whatever brought it up before, that was what I was bringing up. That's my one complaint with it, or else it could be number 1.
Brock has one that I'm sure you would love to have on your list of Peter Griffin versus the chicken.
Hate it.
Which one?
Hate it.
There's a lot of them.
Automatic fast forward for me.
The original one on Y2K or what?
I think that's my favorite part of Family Guy. Is
goes on too long.
Peter versus the chicken.
Only thing I dislike about it is you can tell it was funny the first couple of times, but it got to a point where, hey, we only have 20 minutes of content for a 22-minute episode. We got to fill the other 2 minutes. Hey, chicken fight. That's it. There's a few things that are go-to, that Conway Twitty song, stuff like that are go-tos in Family Guy to kill time.
The Conway Twitty bit's so good.
Oh, I still like it all. It's just you can tell they ran out of runway on this one.
I think it's time for number 2 on Lunce's list.
Brock is also asking what the Peter Griffin versus the chicken is ripped from at 7.5 minutes long. It's most likely going to be They Live.
Yep.
That's a long street fight.
One of John Carpenter's best.
Halloween 2?
I don't even know why we have a camera on John because I can't see a thing, and I don't think anybody else can either.
Kids in the hallway.
Inception hallway scene.
Is that what Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Hallway
Yeah,
scene.
that scene.
It is.
Where the floor keeps moving.
So the best part of this is, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt versus some goons coming after him from, I just call them goons, but they're
goons.
dream people coming after him. But
it's a better version of The Matrix than The Matrix.
It definitely takes from The Matrix, I think, a little bit there. But the sequencing of it so that's in the second dream level. The first dream level is where the guy who's driving the van is trying to run away, and he ends up flipping the car over, which makes the hallway turn and everything. The way it's shot was really good. I forgot to put a picture of.
And he had to pee in his dream, so it's raining.
Yeah. So this is it being shot there. It's the raining and everything. It's a really well shot scene. It's cool how he takes them and wraps them all up after the fact and puts them in the elevator and lets it drop to wake them up. Everything about Inception from the building the dream levels is really cool. And then this being the fight that really sticks out, because third dream level, they're basically just shooting at each other. And first dream level, they're basically just shooting at each other. This is where it gets to more hand-to-hand combat when it comes to fighting in what is a crazy universe that they're in.
I always love when you give Christopher Nolan some love. I know you are a fan of a lot of films that he has done. And so I'm not going to be too harsh on this, but
just a little bit.
How you have the Inception hallway fight above Duel of the Fates blows my mind.
No force fields.
Blows my mind.
They just fight. They don't have to stop and stare at each other for a little bit and be like, I'm going to get you, dude.
But that's
no,
good.
You're not.
It builds character. It builds
Squirting
aggression.
Powerade in their mouth.
And the fact that Darth Maul kills Qui-Gon.
Taking a towel.
Spoiler.
Guys. Gosh.
But how much cooler would it have been if he had won the 1v2?
I would love. They're doing an episode 1 re-release.
Yes.
Which I attended an episode 1 re-release about a decade ago. And man, it was a miserable experience. I was like, oh, I forgot how this movie is. It's so flat, not good. Really sounds awful at certain parts with Jar Jar and all of that. But I wish I could just see a couple of scenes on the big screen and it just be like a good 20-minute supercut instead of, and the pod racing scene would be part of that.
Basically, pod racing and Duel of the Fates.
Pod racing, Duel of the Fates.
That's about it.
That's about it.
That's it.
You see, I'll throw a little bit of the overall war they're fighting with the machines, like, you know, coming over the hill and all that kind of stuff. I'll throw a little bit of that in there just from a scale perspective. But
that's about it. But those two scenes are really good. I need to just watch it on YouTube. All right, let's go to number 1 on Lunce's list. Best movie fight according to John. Speaking of hallways, if you're looking for some new ones in your life, Realtor Jim Wilson with Location Real Estate is who I would recommend when looking for that new place to call home. Remember our friend with Location Real Estate. That's Jim Wilson, still an active member of the U.S. military. Simply put, a good guy who doesn't take shortcuts when it comes to home buying. Able to help you secure the American dream of finding your perfect home. Cares deeply about making sure you're given all the information needed during the biggest purchase of your life. Jim loves making his clients happy. He's full of energy, looking to accomplish those real estate goals that you have put in place. Not only during the home buying or selling experience is Jim available, but every day after. He's an advocate for you and your interests, not some random corporation. Whether you're buying or selling, contact our friend, Realtor Jim Wilson with Location Real Estate, 205-329-4758. That's 329-4758, or visit jimwilson.locationre.com. All right, number 1.
All right, so I only have Saving Private Ryan written. I don't want to write the whole thing out. This is a fight from Saving Private Ryan, which you know is my favorite war movie and is up there in general. So this is a fight between Adam Goldberg's character and a German soldier, and I'll try to set the scene. And the picture I found, it's hard to find a really good picture that I want to actually put on the show because there's some blood in it. All right, so this is not him. This is the dude in the hallway after the fact. So he's fighting. It's 2 American soldiers sitting there. It's Adam Goldberg, and I don't remember who the other one is. And they hear somebody walking up the stairs, and they're like in a room. And you know how like in Return of the Jedi, during the final lightsaber battle, you can see the whole war happening outside the window of them? This is 2 people sitting there, and they hear Germans walking up the steps, and you can see through a busted hole in the house they're in, or the building they're in, the entire war happening kind of outside of them. And so this is more of a closed-in situation. And they hear somebody walking up the steps, they fire into the wall, and you see just blood splattered onto the floor out that they killed a German soldier that was walking up the stairs. And then they hear another noise, and then guns fire through them and kills the other guy. Well, this guy's laying on the floor, bleeding out. He had been shot in the neck. I'm not trying to get too graphic, but that's just what happened. And then Adam Goldberg's character ends up fighting with the other soldier with a knife, and they're going back and forth. And it's the first time for me, because I would have been much younger when this movie came out, that like I felt war in a movie.
Yeah.
That I was like, I get it, the intensity of a movie like this. And it's the best war movie to a lot of people for a reason. But then Jeremy Davies is the guy that's on the screen right now. I can't remember now if he was like a translator or something, but he wasn't a combat guy. And he's walking up the stairs, and he can tell that there's a fight going on upstairs, and he freaks out, starts crying because he's like, I can't deal with this. I'm not a combat person. And the German soldier ends up winning the fight, stabbing Adam Goldberg, walking down. He just looks at him like, you're crying. I'm not going to do anything to you. Like, you're already mentally wrecked, and just walks off and just leaves him by. It's an incredibly shot scene. It's an incredible scene from the stakes of it, the emotion of it, the intensity of it. And it's one thing, when I think of Saving Private Ryan, this is one of the first things I think of every single time.
Remember full circle, though, what Upham did, if I remember correctly, that particular German soldier, they were making him dig his own grave.
They ended up letting him go.
And Upham said, like, we need to let him go, and then he ended up killing Adam Goldberg. So he was a coward, didn't try to help. He was on the bottom of the staircase, saying, that was fully on me.
But I recommend looking up, I won't play it, like I said, it's pretty bloody, but Saving Private Ryan stabbing scene. It's maybe one of the most intense, just small scale things in what obviously is a much grander scale war that's happening.
And I want to be clear, I put some parameters on you with this because I wasn't looking for most epic battle scenes, which Saving Private Ryan would have been a part of that. But I was asking for fights, and I was asking for more close combat, interpersonal, 1 versus 2, 1 versus a lot of people, but the one central character being the focus. I was looking for more intimate fights here, and I don't think you can get more intimate than what we saw there at the number 1 spot.
One I had on the list that I took off was the Osaka Continental fight scene from John Wick 4, because it's not just John Wick, it's a lot of people versus a lot of people. It ultimately boils down to they're there for a reason, which is John Wick, but I took it off. But it's a really good scene, and it's probably the best scene since I guess it was a nightclub scene where they went and like Reek was in the hot tub and everything in the first movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that was really cool from like the neon standpoint and everything. This then took it up to another level in that one. Although I was not as big a fan of John Wick 4 as everybody else was. I like that aspect of it. I had Bane versus Batman in there only because it's the first time we saw Batman lose.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Not that.
I can't take that picture
Sorry,
seriously.
I forgot to change it.
Yeah, I
You should've
know.
told me
I didn't want to leave it up the whole.
Just say change it.
No, I did say change it, and you changed it. I'm sorry, but it's the Pittsburgh thing that just
Pittsburgh.
triggered me, not the picture.
The boys are fighting.
You give this nice speech about why this is number one, and it's such a it hits the heart, and then he does the old Pittsburgh thing from Ryan Brown.
Anyway, it's the first time we saw Batman lose, and so I feel like that was an important. Though it wasn't a crazy fight, it's the first time we saw Batman lose, so it had an effect when Batman gets his back broken and
You
everything.
think darkness is your ally?
I was born in it.
Both better than Brown.
I was gonna bring that thing home, and then he went a little bit brown at the end. That's all I'll say.
Sorry.
Still better than Brown, but yeah, not as good as that. And then I really like the Mission Impossible bathroom scene with Henry Cavill, Tom Cruise versus kind of the random assassin. That was another honorable mention I thought about throwing.
One
in
of the
there.
best fight scenes to ever take place inside of a bathroom.
Yeah.
I would argue Austin Powers is number one.
That was a good one.
You know I'm right. I mean, no one's gonna. Everybody's like, well, what would be number one on
Who
this
does number
list?
2 work for?
Yeah.
Beat me to
Yeah.
it.
Who does he work for? Number two.
Every time I ever see a charm bracelet, I always think of the Lucky Charms dude. Like my wife randomly got one the other day that had like a cross and all this like other nice stuff on it. And I was like, it's like the Lucky Charms dude from Austin
It's
Powers.
a television commercial.
So funny. All right, that's going to do it for Lunce's list, and we appreciate him pouring his heart into this one. Looking forward to tomorrow's Lunce's list as well. There's a couple of things I want to get to here that we follow in our life, and that is sports.
Mm-hmm.
You're a big Alabama Crimson Tide fan. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. You have hopes that Alabama can get past their toughest challenge yet in UConn, but you're not very optimistic about it.
Nope.
I'm going to stick to the round ball here and talk about my team, the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA, as they are on an absolute hot streak right now. Luka Doncic yesterday, he is the NBA's highest scorer. He had 47 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, 9 threes against the Houston Rockets. Those are Tim Squadron half-court pickup numbers right there from what we saw. Mm-hmm. This ended the Rockets' 11-game winning streak with a 125-107 win on the road. The Mavs have 11 straight wins with Luka in the lineup and have won 11 of 12. Things are trending upwards for my Dallas Mavericks, and I'm very excited about that, getting into playoff season coming up. The Dallas Stars are leading their division and have won 7 straight, going 8-2 in their last 10. They're one of the hottest teams in hockey right now. But, John, your Predators are right there at the top of the wild card standings. What do you think of the expectations for Nashville?
So the hottest team until they went on the road this week was the Nashville Predators. They won 16 of 18. They were on an 18-game point streak. They got wrecked this weekend, though. But they were in a rebuilding year. They traded literally everybody but like 2 players.
And they've overperformed.
And they should not even be close to the playoffs based on the moves that were made. However, Barry Trotz, the GM, was the coach, longtime coach there, left, went to the Capitals, won a Stanley Cup, got fired by them right after, or they wouldn't give him a contract. Literally the year he won the Stanley Cup, went to the Islanders, and then came back to the Preds now. But no, they're 8 points ahead of the Blues in that first wild card spot. They will make the playoffs. They will likely be that number 1 spot. I'm going to see them on Thursday because once the playoffs hit, I'm having surgery, so I won't be able to go see a playoff game like I have the last couple of times they made the playoffs. They missed last year just barely. But yeah, no, they're hot. They're on fire, and it's good to see with a team that's still in rebuilding mode. If you're in rebuilding and still make the playoffs, things are going pretty good.
We have a lot of things that entertain us other than just movies, television, music, etc. Part of which is sports. John, you love Crimson Tide. You love your Nashville Predators. I love the Dallas Mavericks and love the Dallas Stars. And we are approaching a season in which those topics will be coming up more and more with our excitement and our emotional level sort of dipping, whether or not these teams, if they underperform or overperform, we'll be right here ready to ride the wave of how these seasons are going to come to an end. This show's officially coming to an end today on this Monday edition. We cannot wait for Tuesday. Going to have a special guest here in studio. And then Wednesday is the return of Meltdown Triple Threat Trivia. We'll see what happens there. A lot of competitors wanting to have an advantage going into more Triple Threat Trivia competitions. And we appreciate all of our fine sponsors, including our title sponsor, John. That's MyBookie.
Go to mybookie.ag. Hey, played all the money line underdogs this past weekend. Still came out with a little bit of a profit there. Guaranteed to make a profit thanks to our friends at MyBookie and the lines that they had for playing the money line underdogs. Depending on where you got it, you may not end up with a profit. But they have really good odds there for the sports book. They have really good casino games. They have really good slots as well. Use code NEXTROUND, promo code NEXTROUND when you make that first deposit. You'll get a little bit of a bonus from us and our friends at MyBookie, and you can bet literally anything, anytime, anywhere with mybookie.ag.
We have Brock saying giddy up Stallions beating the XFL champs on their premier game.
Want to know?
Indeed, they on social media they used the new Beyonce album cover to celebrate the Stallions win, and I thought that was really smart, really funny, and clever for sure. So
that's the best thing to come from that album cover.
Oh my.
We'll talk about the Beyonce album later. I've been jamming out to it all weekend. My wife is also not a fan, so I'm surrounded by people who are like, why are you listening to this? And I think it's good. I think the Beyonce country album is good. So I will stand.
Her next album's supposed to be a rock album. I'll probably love it. You'll probably be like, it didn't really work for me.
I will die on this hill. I will. That's going to do it for us here on The Meltdown today. Appreciate all of you lovely Meltdonians. If you're looking for something great to eat tonight, try Culver's and one of their delicious deluxe butter burgers. You won't be disappointed, I promise you that. We'll see you back tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you hit thumbs up on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the channel. We have a spoiler review of Godzilla x Kong, along with a number of other lovely content right here on The Meltdown.